Sorry, I feel too uncomfortable about coming to the lunch with you, Mum, Dad, Heather and Ian tomorrow. But I'm happy to talk to you about your health and implications of that at another time if you'd like to discuss it on the phone. Just let me know.
That's really disappointing. I've spent many hours this week preparing lunch for tomorrow, which has been exhausting in light of the issues I'm facing, and spent a small fortune on beef eye fillet to make beef Wellingtons, because I wanted it to be a special meal, as I may not be able to host a lunch like this again for some time. It's important to me that you're all there tomorrow and that I can have the conversations that I need to have. I hope you'll change your mind. Your parents and Heather and Ian are coming at 12:30. I hope to see you there.
You've just heard a reading of text messages between Erin Patterson and her ex-husband Simon. An exchange they had a day before Erin cooked the fateful mushroom lunch. It talks to a fractured relationship. Today, Simon took to the stand and told the jury about his life with the woman accused of killing his parents and his auntie. I'm Brooke Grebert-Craig, and this is The Mushroom Cook. Welcome back, Laura.
Can you believe we're nearly at the end of the week?
I know, it's gone so fast.
Yes.
The jury heard from Simon today, and he spoke at length about his relationship with Erin Patterson.
Today was the first day of evidence in the trial, and Simon was the first prosecution witness. So this involves him getting into the witness box, taking an oath, and then he's questioned by the lead prosecutor. We mentioned her yesterday, Nanette Rogers. And like you said, he was questioned a lot at length about his relationship with Erin and the circumstances surrounding the lunch.
The centre of this case is this deadly lunch where 3 people died in the days after it. If we go back to Simon being invited to the lunch, talk me through about what the jury heard.
He told the jury today that he was invited to that lunch on July 16, 2023. And just to remind our listeners, the lunch was on July 29. So she's let them know about the lunch about 2 weeks earlier at a church service. At the time, Simon said he would come despite being reluctant. But the day before the lunch, he texts her late at night. And that exchange is what our listeners heard at the top of the episode. So Simon was asked about this text exchange today. But he was also asked a series of questions just about his relationship with Erin, describing what she was like, how the relationship had an on and off nature. Let's unpack that now.
The jury heard that Simon and Erin met in the early 2000s when they were both working at Monash City Council. Simon was a civil engineer and Erin was working as an RSPCA representative.
Yeah, he said she always loved animals.
He also said that she's witty, intelligent, and funny as well.
And he speaks about those being some of the traits that led to him falling in love with her all those years ago.
Something of note that Simon said was that Erin had always been a devoted mother to her 2 kids. He said that her daily life really revolved around them, and she took her role as a parent very seriously. Simon also spoke about Erin's relationship with his parents, Don and Gail Patterson.
He spoke quite a lot about Don and Erin sharing a love of knowledge and learning, and said they shared an interest in the world.
Don and Gail were quite supportive of Erin and Simon's relationship, even though they separated and reconciled a lot throughout their marriage.
And just in terms of the timeline, we heard that Simon and Erin met in the early 2000s. They were married by 2007, had children in 2009 and 2014, but by 2015, they permanently separated.
In that time, Erin and Simon did a lot of travelling together. They really shared the same passion of exploring nature.
They did share a lot of these common interests, and the interesting thing is despite separating in 2015, they remained friends, and Simon said today they remained friends for quite a number of years, up until about 2022, when something happened with his tax return.
Yeah, their relationship did turn sour at that point in time.
Simon told the jury today that when he was dropping off the 2 children one day at Erin's house, she said she had become aware of a change in his tax return where his marital status had been altered to separated.
Erin was not happy about that, and she made that very clear to Simon at the time.
Simon told the court that Erin told him that change in his marital status would have tax implications for the two of them, and as a result, she demanded child support from him moving forward. He then told the court their relationship substantially changed. Something that once was a friendship that involved chatty conversations over text, he said turned to very functional messages just about the day-to-day life of their children.
Things that weren't an issue became an issue. Simon told the court that Erin was keen to split their children's school fees, but he told her child support had told him not to do that because it was already covered by the child support fees.
Simon recalled Erin being very upset about that. Simon was questioned a lot today about the properties Erin owned, some with him, some without him.
And that was all stemmed by the inheritance that Erin was given after her grandma died and her mother died.
The inheritance totaled about $2 million, but Simon told the court that it dribbled out in instalments over about 8 years.
So just to clarify, Erin was the beneficiary of two separate estates. Erin's grandma died in 2006 and Erin's mother died in 2019.
That's correct. And Simon told the jury Erin used part of her inheritance very generously.
Simon has 3 siblings and Erin and him lent them around $400,000 each.
And while we're talking about properties, there were a few that were mentioned today in court, and I must admit there were times where I was struggling to keep up. Could you please explain?
You've really put me on the spot here,
Okay,
Laura.
I'm sorry.
It is complicated, so stay here with me. The jury heard of 4 separate properties. 2 properties in Currumbara, one in Mount Waverley and another one in Leongatha, and that's where the mill took place. Simon said that Erin put his name on the Mount Waverley and Leongatha titles despite them being separated by this point in 2019. Okay, now I'm going to bring it back to the lunch and I'm going to throw to you, Laura.
Oh no, this is karma, I guess. We haven't touched much on the lunch yet, but Simon was questioned by both the prosecution and the defence today about the lead up and the aftermath. We must remember that he wasn't actually at the lunch himself. The day after the lunch, on the Sunday, his parents told him they were quite unwell. They described experiencing diarrhoea and vomiting. Knowing that his aunt and uncle, Heather and Ian, were also at the lunch, he went over to their home to check that they were okay.
And the prosecution really focused on questions that Heather asked Simon.
They did. Simon recalled Heather telling him, "I noticed Erin served herself her food on a coloured plate, which was different to the rest." Then later that afternoon, when Simon was driving both Ian and Heather to hospital, Heather touched on this topic again. She asked, "Is Erin short of crockery? Is that why she would have this different kind of coloured plate that she served herself on?"
So that really stood out to Heather, the fact that there were different coloured plates.
Yeah, I believe the word she used was puzzled. She says she was puzzled by it. But in response, in the car, Simon said to her, "Erin doesn't have that many plates, and that might be the reason why."
And as we heard yesterday in the prosecution openings, Crown Prosecutor Nanette Rogers said the guest meals were served on grey plates and Erin served her meal on a tanned orange plate.
Under cross-examination today by Colin Mandy, Simon said that Erin owned a mixture of plates and that they weren't all the same. After driving his aunt and uncle to hospital, there was a point in time where Simon returned to be with his parents. And this was a point today in court where Simon became visibly emotional.
Yes, the jury would have seen how emotional Simon got. He asked for tissues, and this is when he was talking about how unwell his parents were in hospital.
He said his dad was substantially worse than his mum and said it looked like he was really struggling, and described him as lying on his side, hunched with a discoloured face. But then later in his evidence, Simon spoke about how Erin appeared after the lunch. He told the jury that she wanted to go to hospital but was worried she might poo her pants on the drive.
I know that sounds like a bit too much TMI, but it was said in court. Simon gave evidence over many hours today. Is there anything we may have missed, Laura?
That's a good question. I'll just cast my mind back. He did also mention that it was very rare for Erin to invite guests over to her home. He said that as a wider family, especially when they were still together, he didn't think they ever had a gathering of that size at their house.
But Simon isn't done giving evidence yet. He will be back on the stand tomorrow in front of the jury. To stay up to date with all our latest coverage, go to themushroomcook.com.au.